How's it going, guys? So I figured I wanted to do a quick update video, just kind of show some of the projects that are going on in the car. I haven't had a time to really edit the specific ones, but steering column's out, and I'll talk about why. But as you can tell, I laid some undercoating on the interior section there. I'll have more specifics with some before and afters. Again, I just want to do a quick video, kind of let everybody know it's still ongoing, but I record and then I don't really have sometimes time to edit and upload the videos. But again, I laid some undercoating. The only thing I will mention really quick, just really quick, is I did have to come back and paint over it. When I laid the undercoating, it still felt sticky even after 2 days. I didn't like that feel, so I came back and then I just kind of used some metal paint there, and now perfect. So again, the steering column's out, and I'll address that in just one sec, but just wanted to show where the interior was. All right, calipers, I actually pulled them off the parts car and painted those guys. Look really good. Almost went in to get some rotors, but I know those guys are going to clean up real nicely. The control arms have been I pulled it off and I was missing a bushing, and I put the final bushing on. I upgraded, or should I say I put new ball joints, and I have videos on how that happened there. So both ball joints on both control arms have been done. Tested for the bushings, everything was fine on that side. Did I go over this, guys? I'm not sure if I did, but I actually did some reinforcement here, and then I got some new bolts for that. The support horn of it, they call it. But here's the part that I'm really excited about. Also, one of the reasons why I've had so many delays. I mentioned this in the very first video, and I'll touch on it briefly, but this is the Jeep steering box. One of the advantages is they talk about more of a modern feel to it. I believe that the standard steering box for the C3 Corvettes have a ratio of 16:1, where this has a 12:7. The more modern you get, the closer you sit somewhere in the 11 through 14, I want to say. And all that is how many times it takes you to turn the steering wheel to go left or right. So you don't want to go too short, because then it's overly sensitive, but most modern cars, I want to say, sit within that range. So this gives you a more modern feel and also gives you back some of the control. That's great, but one of the reasons why I did it is really because you saw in the video of my power steering fix where I took that connection, which is from the LT1 power steering line, and I connected it to the control valve. Now, there's still a couple more things that you have to do, because the control valve actually moves with all the steering components. So that's just trial and error. That's the first part of it. Then you got to make sure that you have enough clearance as you go through it. So that was going to be a couple more videos. And I was kind of looking forward to kind of fixing that, but on the original power steering components, the control valve and the power cylinder that sit here, man, those guys, every time I look on the forums, people are talking about how they have to rebuild them, how they leak, whether it's a little bit or a lot. It's just something continuous, and I've seen that on the Porsche 944 as well. So, not that this is an end-all to leaks, but one of the advantages to here is not only is it a modern feel, but at the same time now the power steering line, check this out, it just connects up here. So you got your high pressure, and your return sits right here. It doesn't move with all the components. It just goes directly to the main areas like a modern car, and then everything happens down here at the pitman arm. It just moves it, and so the steering stays steering, and the actual hoses are static now, just running on top. So it took me a while to get this. I will show you briefly how this guy connects. You see that? So first you have to source some brackets, and luckily There's a site that uploaded the schematics for it. Once you have it, you have to kind of like tweak it to your own setup. And I will go over that. There's also a bracket that you should invest in that protects the frame from flex, since this is a little bit stronger of a gearbox, so it really tugs on this side of the frame, and you're already extremely vulnerable to flexing because of these. So I am going to reinforce by trying to weld these shut somehow. I still got some ideas. Again, that's why I have some of the delays, but yeah, I did it. I thought this was going to happen a couple of years down the road, or maybe after the project was running, but I went ahead and just did that, and I'm pretty excited about that. All right, what the heck, I'm going to talk a little bit more. Okay, I know this is an update video. As you can tell, we'll just really quick see how the control arm's sitting here. This one's not done completely because I wanted to still do a video on how to install this when you have the factory ball joint still on. But going back to this, I can't talk about this upgrade, and I know this was supposed to be a quick update, but this will still be quick. So another thing that this Jeep steering box upgrade does is it deletes the power cylinder. So down here you have two major components that connect to the drag link, and the power cylinder is now completely removed. There's no need for it because you don't need the power assist. The control valve, you have the option of removing it and replacing it with a solid, let's just call it a drag link connector, but you can still use it. I'm going to continue to use the control valve to connect to the pitman arm that connects here, but I like the fact that now I'm removing more components that were in the original C3 Corvette. I'm not disrespecting them. I'm simply saying that's less point of failures now. So this kind of like brings everything a little bit more compact, less components, more modern feel, more power for steering. So I love this. You will have to collapse. That's the reason why the steering column is inside. You will have to collapse the bottom of the steering column about for me, it was just about 2 inches. Some people talk between 2 to 2.5. For me, it really was right at the 2-inch mark that I had to do it. I wouldn't just grab your steering if you're doing this and collapse it 2 inches by calculating it. I would, it's a trial and error thing. If you can remove the steering column, I'd recommend you do that. That's what I did. But of course you saw the state of my interior, so I was able to do that, but I put the 2 bolts that held it on in place. I removed the bracket that sits here, and I set it here, and then I just kept tapping it back, pulling the steering. I would rest it on the steering wheel, and then I would tap it down with a block of wood and until I got the right size, and I did it so that they just barely mate perfectly. So okay, I know it was a quick update, but last thing that I want to talk about, and I'm probably going to address it in the video where I actually show this component, but I can't talk about this upgrade without talking about the Morganson power steering upgrade. So in order to do this, let's just talk the quick components. So you have to source this Jeep steering box, so you have to go to the junkyard or purchase one, maybe a remanufactured or new one. You have to go to the VetMod website and download the brackets, because this steering box connects at 4 points, and as you can tell, 1, 2, 3, there's 3 bolts for the original system, so the brackets allow you to connect it and set it at the correct angle. So you're going to need to get those brackets. Second, you're going to have to make your own power steering lines. Now, if you saw in my last video, it's not that hard to do, so you still need to make those 2 lines. Then you have to source a pitman arm. A pitman arm for these is, you can't use the original from the C3 Corvette, and you can't use the Jeep one because the angles are going to be just off. It's recommended you get a Chevelle 73 to 78 Chevelle pitman arm. That fits perfectly in the splines and will keep your drag link at the proper angle. But why did I mention Morganson? Well, all those components that I mentioned. Oh, sorry. And then there's one more thing. You have to connect the steering column to the end of the power steering box. So you need either a U-joint or a rag joint. If you've ever been down here, you've seen them. That's what mates these two parts together and allows the flexibility between both components. So the reason why I mentioned Morganson is because Morganson actually makes a kit for the C3 Corvette. It allows you to take this box, they take this box themselves, they recast the sides so that it only has 3 points, connects together. They sell the power steering lines that you're going to need already ready, not for the LT1, but for the C3 original engine. And then they sell the upgraded control valve, or what they call, or the sealed control. Gosh, I don't even know what they call it. Sorry about that, but it's essentially the control valve, just a one-piece control valve that sits back there. Sorry, the reason why I'm having a problem saying that is because it's no longer a valve. It's just it looks almost exactly like the control valve, but it's just a sealed tube that you can use to connect to the pitman arm. Gives you a little bit more rigidity, honestly, if you're talking about that. And then they also provide the rag joint. So the reason I mention it is because if you have the original engine, that's a great option for you. You're going to avoid all the headaches that I went through sourcing that. I went to the junkyard. I had to get the plates. I had to figure out the bolts that I was going to use. I had an issue with that one. Notice that one's a different style, so I had to upgrade that bolt. But again, if you have a C3 Corvette, the Morganson upgrade is amazing. I mean, it really is. If you are looking or trying to decide what to do between rack and pinion and Morganson, my suggestion, and I'm not an expert, so this is just one car guy's opinion, but I think you should do that. And again, that direct bolt-on is phenomenal. I mean, I've heard guys doing it in about 2.5 to 3 hours. Now, it's not all fun and games. You know, most people, I would say, take your time, maybe do it in a day. And you're going to have the clip, unlike me. Wow, this is getting too long of a video. Again, I just wanted to make sure that you understood that the Morganson upgrade is the identical upgrade that I did, with the exception that it's a direct bolt-on done by a company who warranties their items. I don't have a warranty on this guy. And has already solved all the problems that you need if you have the original engine. I have a swap, so I went in this direction, you know, but I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to talk about this like this was the only option. There is, if you're watching this and you're not doing LT swap, but you have a C3 Corvette, definitely recommend you looking at that. It's one of the major upgrades that even on the forums, a lot of people talk about the power steering. It solves a lot of issues with the feel of these cars while they're driving. But again, it's your car. Just consider that. All right. What else are we doing in terms of updates? Oh, you know what? In terms of updates, I know you guys heard the car start, but excuse the mess, but I also found I had a short, and I had to run a new line that connects to the EGR solenoid, the purge valve solenoid, and the MAF sensor, the mass airflow sensor. Those guys shorted out, or should I say, those guys were never receiving a 12-volt constant, so I noticed my idling wasn't where it needed to be. I'm thinking about taking the intake off and resealing it, because I have a feeling I have a vacuum leak somewhere around there, and it's easier to just do that, at least I believe. Fuel pressure is perfect, and the fuel pressure is strong, so we're not even gonna touch on that. And then I'll be replacing all the vacuum lines. So there is my update. It's a lot of suspension, a lot of steering, and the interior. One more look at the interior. I think she looks beautiful. Can't wait to actually get going on there. So for all you 12 dedicated viewers, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully that was a great little update for you. And yeah, I will be posting a little bit more specific on that Jeep steering box upgrade and the control arms. So look forward to that. And definitely, thanks for watching. You guys have a great morning.